I'm Dr. Rahman, and welcome to Black Women's Health. When I first saw her, I knew there was a story. She was willing to share in the office. Turns out that life had thrown her a curveball. Unexpected, life-altering, and there she was. She was dealing with the changes, but not prepared to share her story with others. Months later, she contacted me saying she was ready. And so it is my privilege to present a phenomenal, truly badass woman, and to hear how she has triumphed over the obstacles in her way. Take a listen.
My life changed November 1st, 2021. My life, along with others. I had a brain bleed. While working out.
Yolanda, before we start to talk about that, tell me, what was your life like before November 1st, 2021?
Before that, I am, captain paramedic in the Philadelphia Fire Department. And I served in 2021, I served about 21 years.
Oh, impressive.
Yes.
What does a captain do? I most of us know what a paramedic is.
Yes.
It's that special person that comes to your home or wherever you are in the event of a medical emergency.
Mm-hmm.
What's a captain of a paramedics?
A captain is a supervisor over all of the paramedic lieutenants. We give advice, we acknowledge and entertain and enforce the policy and procedures of the Philadelphia Fire Department. That's first and foremost. But there's different jobs we have. Some of
Do you
us work
still
in.
go out on the various calls that come in?
You can, if you're a field captain, you can
Hmm.
go out on calls. If you work overtime, you can go out on calls. But like I was saying, you have different roles. Either you're in staff and you're responsible for training or teaching,
Hmm.
um, or you're out in the field where you're responsible for the field medics and lieutenants.
So,
Being
so
a supervisor.
this is impressive. So how does a young woman, get to be a captain of the paramedics? What's the background story here?
Oh, well, you have to take the test to be an officer, which involves a written and an oral exam, which involves studying, of course, and knowing what is and what isn't accepted at the fire department. So, as far as rules goes, as far as how the interactions go and the patients go, and um, everything that's involved with that. You're responsible for that.
Is there a certain level of education you need to become a paramedic or any special training or school type work, excuse me, that's required?
Yes, as an EMT, you're required for, I think they have 6 months of EMT certification where you're studying and reading and, taking tests and passing the exam. They call it a national registry. So you're responsible for that.
Mhm.
After you get your EMT certification, and you can go to get your paramedic certification. Mine was included with my degree. So I got I already had an EMT certification, so I went back to school to get my paramedic cert and master's degree also with it. So it's about 18 months after your EMT to get your paramedic cert. So
So
yes,
that,
it involves education and some people get a certificate and some people get a degree. So it depends. But either way, it involves going back to school.
so you did the basic training and then you did more. You got your master's, and after 21 years, you were the captain of the paramedics.
Yes. I had a long journey. So I wasn't just a captain, I was a paramedic. I taught in high schools. I was a deputy commissioner. And then, along with my civil service exam as a captain, that was all of the journey that I had at the fire department.
Is there a certain level of physical fitness that you have in order to be a paramedic?
You have to be able to lift 125 pounds,
Hmm.
250 between two people,
Wow.
um, and carry it over 50 feet.
Hmm.
Um, Up and down the steps, you have to carry a bag that's, I think, 25 pounds. You
Hmm.
have to carry it up and down steps. You have to be able to do that. Um, there's a whole host of things, but you're supposed to be in shape to
Okay.
do the job. Yes.
Okay. And you get recertified every period.
Every Yeah, every 2 years you get certified in CPR. Every year you get continual education credits, which allows you to either refresh what you already know or introduce you to new topics that has come across the table for paramedics to know.
Sounds like a very interesting field. I'm thinking not a lot of women would be paramedics. Am I correct or am I wrong?
No, you are correct. You are correct.
So here you are, captain of the paramedics, knowing a lot, probably seen a lot over the
Mhm.
past 20 some years.
Right.
And we get to November. And what's going on in your life at this point?
Um, Normal things. I have two kids that I biologically birthed. Um, so I was going to he one of my youngest is going to in November. He was going to ninth grade, but he was
Mm-hmm.
in eighth.
Mm-hmm.
So I had different shadows days that he had to go to at different schools because he had to choose his high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Both boys were in football, so they had football practice. So I would go to the football practices. Um, I worked. What else? I worked out.
You're a busy mom
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
found time to work out.
And I found time to work out.
Kudos to you. Kudos to you. And so life, you were in a good spot.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what happens?
Um, I don't know what happened, but I was in the middle of working out on November 1st. I finished working, and I finished. My son, he had a shadow day at a school, at a high school. So I was in the middle of working out and I got dizzy. And my trainer at the time said, go ahead, and I was doing calf raises. And she said, go ahead, don't, don't, don't try to get out of doing calf raises. Go ahead and do them.
Mm,
Because I usually do them
mm-hmm,
with no problem.
mm-hmm,
But this day in particular, I said, I can't do them. I feel dizzy. I don't feel right. I need to sit down. So I sat down, but she didn't hear that. And so she came over to me and she said, "No, no, come on, you got to do your calf raises." And she looked in my eyes and she said, "Oh no, I'm calling 911. You don't look right." And I said, "Call my husband. Before you call 911, call my husband." At the time, I called my husband, and I told him to hurry up to where I was. He was at the time dropping my son off to football practice. So while I was waiting for him to come to where I was, about 10 minutes away or less, um, I had to use the bathroom. And when I stood up, I got a headache, the worst headache that I ever had in my life.
Let me just interrupt just for a second.
Hmm.
You said initially, earlier that day, feeling fine, no
Yes,
problem.
no problem.
Now you're exercising and you say you just don't feel right.
Right.
There's no headache, there's nothing specific.
Just dizzy at the
Dizzy.
time. Hmm.
Okay. So you stand up and now you have a headache.
Now I have a headache. Yes.
Okay. Please go on.
My husband was on the line at the time, on his way to me. And when I got the headache, like I said, it was the worst headache I ever had in my life. I let out a holler because it was painful. And I guess that is what made him hurry up even more. Um, so at the same time, I had to use the bathroom. So I think he got there in time for me to use the bathroom. And my trainer and him was scared, I guess. I wasn't scared at all. I had to use the bathroom.
You were
So I
able
went,
to walk to the bathroom?
yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
Um, I went to the bathroom with the help of my husband, like he was there helping
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I went to the bathroom, it wasn't a usual bathroom experience. And my trainer was like, "Don't worry about it. I got it. I'll take care of everything." So when she saw me using the bathroom was different, she called 911. And when I was finishing up the bathroom on my way to sit down again with the help of my husband, um, is when the ambulance was coming, but I got nauseous and started throwing up at the same time.
Mm.
So the ambulance came, and I guess my husband was trying to figure out where's my ID, where's my my credit cards and all the stuff I had. And it was my phone. All I needed, all I had was my phone, and everything was in my phone. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
"It's in my phone."
Mm-hmm.
So I got in the ambulance, and I'm leaving stuff out because my husband was upset at the time, and the trainer was upset. Um,
They were upset because
yeah,
you were feeling bad?
yeah, I was feeling bad, and I think they thought that the whole process was moving a little slow,
I
but
see.
it wasn't.
Meaning
So,
they weren't transporting you fast enough.
right, right.
Okay. Because they were
Um,
very concerned about your condition.
correct. At the time, I wasn't concerned about my condition because I didn't know that it was more to it than you mean not just feeling well. Um, so when I got in the ambulance, the guy was like, "Oh, I can't take your shirt and stuff off. I just cut it, just cut it." He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna cut it." So he cut everything, um, and we went to the hospital. And I told the no, I
So
think my
I'm sorry,
husband.
I don't mean to keep jumping in, but you're
No, it's
still
okay.
conscious. You're conscious. You're
Yes,
talking to people.
yes,
You know what's going on.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, do you still have a headache?
I don't have a headache at the time, but I am still dizzy and nauseous and sweating
Sweating.
profusely. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, to the point where it's dripping off of me. That's how much I was sweating.
So at this point, you're talking to paramedics,
Right,
the very people, your people.
right,
Okay.
exactly. So
Interesting.
I was very calm about the situation at the time, because, like I said, I didn't know it was as serious as it was. So, but because it was unusual for me to be, you know, feeling dizzy and not feeling myself, I think my husband and my trainer were more concerned about what was going on
Let me
at the
jump
time.
in here again because your baseline is or was, I'm a healthy person.
Correct.
I don't have any serious medical conditions.
Correct.
So this was totally out of the norm.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So they're concerned at this point, you're conscious and you're calm.
Correct.
Okay.
Um, the the paramedics then gathered, I guess, all the information that they needed, like what happened to me, what was I doing at the time, and all of the things that they needed to transport me and transfer me over to the nurses and doctors at the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, they wanted to do a CAT scan immediately. I was like, okay, no problem. So we did a CAT scan and they found a bleed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a nurse or doctor or whatever came in and said, you got a bleed on your brain. And this part, she told me, the cerebellum, which is in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, we have to do surgery immediately. And I remember saying, oh my God, help me.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, help me. And that was it. That's all I remember.
So that's all you remember because you went to surgery or because you lost consciousness at this point?
I will say that I think I blacked out. I don't know if I lost consciousness or not, but just knowing that information was enough for me to black out. So anything that happened afterwards was all hearsay. So I don't like they tell me what happened, but I wasn't conscious enough to say firsthand this is what happened.
Oh, I'm just taking that in for a moment.
Yeah.
You're okay. You're coherent enough to understand what's being said to you, and you hear that there's a bleed.
Right.
What does that mean to you at this point? Do you know what they're saying, or do you not understand what's being said to you?
No, I know. I know what they're saying because of my training, so I know what a bleed is. I
Okay.
know.
So
Yeah.
just for anyone that may be listening and doesn't know, um, that's implying that there was some sort of rupture of blood vessels in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they need to, well, stop the bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they have to do that by proceeding with surgery.
Right.
What's the next thing you remember?
I know my husband said that they told him that they didn't know if I was gonna make it.
Take your time. Take your time. Um,
I
let me
know he had
just,
to sign some papers, and I went to emergency surgery.
I'm going to have you go back one more time.
Mm-hmm.
In transport to the hospital,
Right.
and even once you got there and you were going for your CT scan, were you able to move your hands and legs, or do you not even remember?
I think that I was, but I don't remember. So I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel like my legs weren't working. I didn't feel like my hands weren't working, my arms were working. I didn't feel that way, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, so, and had you ever had surgery before?
Not like this. I had a biopsy before. I
Okay.
had appendicitis before, but I was appendicitis. I think I was like 11.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
no, I never had surgery like this before.
Right.
I
This is
never
a big
had
deal.
surgery where they said I, there's a chance that I might not make it.
Yes.
So I never had surgery like this before.
Wow. And so the next thing you remember,
The next thing I remember was this happened on a Monday. It was a Thursday. I remember waking up in the hospital and I had to go to the bathroom. So anything that happened in between there, between
mm-hmm,
Monday and Thursday,
mm-hmm,
I either read it or somebody told me,
mm,
or so I had three surgeries um, in between that time. I was transported from the initial hospital to another hospital, which I had no clue of. I was intubated. Um,
mm.
so that's my voice is not, it's better now, but it wasn't at the time. Um, I think I was intubated for like 3 days.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and then when I think the doctors were surprised that I was talking um, or saying things to my parents and my husband. I don't remember any of those things, but
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
was because, like I said, they didn't think that I was gonna make it. So guess they was all surprised. But
So you're a true fighter.
yeah,
So you wake up to a new reality.
right.
And so how do you start? I mean, you're hearing the story of what's happened over the past 3, 4 days, and you have no recollection of this. And
Right.
so, how do you, once you hear all of this, How do you put all of this together? What do you tell yourself?
Um, Initially, I think I didn't believe it. So
Mm,
I,
yeah, too far fetched.
yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't, on my right side was, I won't say paralyzed because I could move it. That's why I didn't know that I couldn't walk. So, um, moving my arms and feet was normal for me. So when I said I want to get up, the nurses were like, "You can't get up," and I was like, "Oh, yes, I can. I can get up. Come on." So when they tried to get me up and I couldn't get up, I was like, "Okay, what is going on?"
Hmm.
So then they told me, the nurses was telling me, "You had an AVM, a brain bleed, and this is what happened, and it's like this, and you're not going to be able to walk for a while, and we're going to work to get you back to normal as best we can."
So, other than you're not able to walk, you're
Mm-hmm.
able to talk, you're coherent.
Mm-hmm.
What about your arms? Are you equally strong in your arms, or have you noticed a change?
The strength is the same. Like I am still strong in my arms and legs, but they don't move the same. Like my balance is off. My the grip strength is off. Um, I used to play softball. I can't throw as well as I could before. Um, it was a lot of things. I couldn't talk as well at the time, but I didn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a lot that was not the same when I woke up that I didn't realize.
Do you
So
know? I'm
um,
sorry. Do you know why you needed three surgeries?
I know now, yes. The first surgery was to stop the bleeding and to relieve the pressure. The second two surgeries, or I'll say the two surgeries, was to remove a piece of my skull and try their best to remove the AVM. Um, but he didn't remove all of it. The second surgery was the same thing, or third surgery, I say, the same thing. And I think it was like 20 or 30% AVM still left. So I had
Mhm.
to get radiation. Um, December, January, February, March, April,
Mm.
5 months after the actual surgery.
To reduce the size of the AVM. So an
Yeah,
AVM is like a abnormal configuration
right.
of arteries and
And
veins that
pain.
just kind of form a mass.
Correct.
And the concern is that the AVM will rupture,
Correct.
which is what you experienced.
Yes.
And you
The
had and you had no idea.
Right. I was going to say the thing about the AVM is you don't know that it exists. So you can go through life as as a kid, as a grown up, and you don't know it exists until it causes a problem, or if you have to get a CAT scan or MRI, for some other reason. But if you never have any problems, you
You would
won't
never
ever
know.
know. Yeah.
That is so strange.
Yeah.
That is so strange. And so, this may sound a little ironic, but you're one of the lucky ones.
Mm.
Do you feel lucky?
Um, I'm grateful now. Yes. Yes.
So, you woke up,
Hmm.
And what did your life look like now? Were you able to get rehab and go back to work, or what is your life like now compared to before?
Um, I say my life now compared to before. The way things were before, I had to learn everything over, like learn how to walk, learn how to talk, learn how to wash myself, learn how to be a woman, um, learn everything. Um, so left the hospital in a wheelchair, and using the bathroom was in what was it? Not a urinal. Um, I couldn't use the toilet. Somebody had to help me to get to the bathroom.
Hmm.
Um, I walk with a what was it, babe? Rollator and was it a walker?
Hmm.
But now today I can walk.
Wonderful.
Um, I talk better. Not where I want to be, but definitely not where I used to be.
You
Um,
sound really good to me.
Good. Thank you. um, my balance was completely off. It's not completely off now. It's not where I want to be. I'm not back to work yet. Um,
You're not back to work.
no, not yet.
And this occurred November of 2021.
Correct.
Are you hoping to go back to work?
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
The physical therapist and the speech therapist and the occupational therapist, it's like a relationship. Like you have to find the right fit to get you where you need to be, um, is important. And
Hmm.
doing stuff at home is also important. Like you can't be waiting for the next day to go to physical therapy or go to occupational therapy. Um, because if you do, then that delays your healing. Um,
It sounds like you're saying you have to want it and you have to be
yes,
proactive.
yes,
It's not a passive thing, it's a
it's
very
not
active.
correct.
So,
And be patient because it takes a long time to get to where you want to be.
what's been the hardest part of all of this?
I think the hardest part is being patient
Mm-hmm.
and being kind to yourself.
Being kind to yourself. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Accepting where you are, like, and not being upset with yourself for not being at the next step, I'll say. Like, I'm not back to work yet, but
Hmm.
I'm working to get back to work.
Sure. Has anything about this surprised you? Has there been any upside in all of this? I know it all sounds overwhelming, but is there any positive in this experience?
Um, the positive, I think, I guess seeing your progression
Hmm.
is positive. Um, my thought process is a little bit different. Like, I think I took on a lot of care and concern about other people. But now, if it doesn't addresses me or my loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, it did matter to me. Like I wanted to change the world, but now a little bit at a time matters to me. My circle matters to me.
So
Changing them.
I was going to ask about your circle because you said you have two sons and they were eighth grade, ninth grade.
Hmm.
How has mothering changed for you?
I think when this first happened, my oldest was in the 11th grade, was he, babe? And my youngest was in the 8th grade. So I
Mhm.
think mothering for them. Oh wow, this is a question that I never had before. I I think I felt guilty
Oh, why? Why?
because I was always available
Mm,
for them.
mm,
I was like I'll call myself superwoman.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But at the time when this happened and now, I couldn't do anything for them, for me, for anybody. So
without getting too personal, were there conversations? Because I'm sure everyone was relieved that you woke up.
right,
Now things are different, but you woke up.
right.
And in your in the new, I don't want to say new role, but in this change in the relationship, does the relationship change? That was a really bad question. But what I'm trying to ask, irrespective of what happened, you're still their mother.
Correct.
Irrespective of your challenges, the love is still there.
Right.
So, what really changed? Or did anything change?
I the things about
I'm losing you. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
I tell them everything. So I explain to them what happened to me, um, to the best of my ability. Like I didn't know everything, but what I did know, I told them. Um, but with their limited knowledge of the event, I think my oldest took to it more than my youngest. My oldest, now he wants to be a physical therapist.
Hmm.
Um, he wanted to help me do, get in the wheelchair and, you know, lift me up and pick me up here and there. He wanted to do everything. My little one, on the other hand, was more closed off. He didn't talk much. He didn't be around me much. He didn't. I think he just didn't know what I could and could not do.
Mm-hmm.
He expected. I know now because he told me, but he expected when I came home from the hospital that everything was going to be back to normal, and it
Back
wasn't.
to normal.
Right.
Yes. A new normal.
Right. So I guess he had to be adjusted or get adjusted to the new way of how I operated. I guess we both did. We all did.
Right. Yes. You said something earlier that I want to circle back to. You said, I had to learn a lot of things. I had to learn how to be a woman. What did you mean by that?
You there?
I am.
I'm
Can you hear?
sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You
You
said
said. So I said, the question I asked was, when you said, I had to learn how to be a woman, what did you
right.
mean by that?
Um, my period, um, how to take care of myself, um,
Hmm.
washing myself, and taking care of all of the personal things that women have to take care of. Like
Okay.
I think my menstrual period is the the most
Okay.
important thing as a woman.
Okay. And basically, you're saying just the ability to physically clean yourself and move around
And put on
was
pads, and yes,
was challenging.
yes, I
Okay.
couldn't do it.
Got you. Got you. So here you are, almost 2 years from the event.
Right.
What are your thoughts about everything that's happened to you?
Um, First, I'm thankful for my husband
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
he could have left. He didn't have to stay.
I mean, that's obviously true, but I'm assuming that your husband loves you, and as we say, for better or for worse.
Right, but what is worse? And are you prepared to handle the worst? Right? So can your husband be in a position to take care of you and everything else that you was responsible for? Some men won't do it.
That's a good point, but I think that's the whole nature of saying, I'm going to commit.
Right.
When
I
you
agree.
say, I'm going to commit, that doesn't, it isn't a conditional, you know, I'm
Right.
going to commit as long as nothing out of the ordinary occurs.
Right.
Commit means no matter what.
Right.
And apparently, you married a man that said, no matter what.
No matter what. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Is there anything that you could share to us? I mean, your story is atypical in the sense that, you know, AVMs, we don't know how common they are because unless there's a problem,
Right.
they go undetected.
Correct.
Um, you ended up kind of looking like someone that had a stroke,
Correct.
although this is not the typical way someone has a stroke.
Correct.
Um, and you're an example of life going one way and then being thrown a curveball,
Correct.
that now things are different and
Mhm.
things have to be relearned. So, what could you or what would you say to someone that doesn't necessarily have an AVM, or 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 what would you say to someone that has something unexpected happen to them and throws their life even momentarily out of kilter? What can you say?
I would say don't give up, meaning there are that you're going to have to go through in life. And you have to go through that moment, and it might make you cry. But at the end of the day, you got to get to the next step.
Mm.
If it doesn't take you out, keep trying. No matter what anybody says, you have to keep trying to get to your goal, whatever that is.
Have you found new strengths in yourself as a result of this?
I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think my faith has been restored and renewed and strengthened. Um, my strength and faith and family and my circle has been strengthened. What's important is not, you know, petty things. What's important is time, because you have to make the memories,
Mm.
and with time you make memories.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
thank you.
I know that when we first met and I broached the subject with you, you weren't there.
Right.
You said, I need time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is showing not only your strength, but it's showing, you know, for lack of a better word, progress, evolution, coming through, you know. It's a good thing to see.
Thank you.
Any parting words? I think this was phenomenal. I thank you for taking the time. I thank you for sharing the story. I think that there's probably, no, I don't know that, but I would think with the strength that you've shown, that only good things can come your way.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to stop